I just read about yet another terrorist attack in France. A 25-year-old Muslim named Larosi Abdallah followed a French police chief home, stabbed him to death while shouting Allahu Akbar, then tortured and killed the police chief's wife, who was also a police official, in front of her toddler son. Now, the typical response to these attacks from moderate Muslims, Muslims who don't approve of terrorism, is that people like Abdullah have misunderstood Islam and that anyone who associates his actions with Islam must be a racist, Islamophobic, hate-mongering bigot. Based on this common response, I have three questions for moderate Muslims. First, suppose the toddler whose mother was tortured to death in front of him in the name of Allah grows up and remembers what happened the night his parents were brutally murdered. Suppose he starts wondering why Abdullah killed his parents and that he turns to Islam's most trusted sources to seek understanding. In those sources, he finds Allah commanding his followers, fight those who do not believe in Allah. Strive hard against the unbelievers and the hypocrites and be unyielding to them. Fight those of the unbelievers who are near to you and let them find in you hardness. In the Hadith, he finds Muhammad declaring, I've been commanded to fight people until they bear witness that none has the right to be worshipped but Allah. If this young man, or any other victim of an Islamic terrorist attack, studies the Muslim sources and sees a connection between the attack and the commands of Islam, would he be a bigot for becoming concerned about the spread of Islam? I can only assume that the answer is yes, because no matter how many people are slaughtered in the name of Allah, and no matter how clearly such attacks are commanded by Allah and Muhammad, moderate Muslims call people hate-mongers and bigots for expressing any concerns about Islam. This brings us to my second question for moderate Muslims. The reason you're convinced that people who criticize Islam are racists and Islamophobes goes something like this. Since there's no connection between Islam and terrorism, anyone who thinks there's a connection between Islam and terrorism must be delusional. The source of this delusion can only be hatred or bigotry. So anyone who's critical of Islam must be a racist and an Islamophobe. Now let's pretend, for the sake of argument, that you're right and that Islam is actually a religion of peace. My question is this: what's the difference, practically speaking, between, on the one hand, a religion that commands its adherents to violently subjugate unbelievers, and, on the other hand, a religion that only sounds like it commands its adherents to violently subjugate unbelievers? In other words, what's the difference between a religion that commands, fight those who do not believe in Allah, and really means it, and a religion that commands, fight those who do not believe in Allah, but doesn't really mean it? In both religions, there are going to be people who obey the command, either because the religion really commands it or because the religion sounds like it commands it. And in both religions, there are going to be large numbers of people who don't obey the command because they don't take it very seriously. Either way, people are being killed. So why is a religion that's actually peaceful but sounds violent to many of its adherents somehow less of a threat than a religion that sounds violent because it is? If your religion is theoretically peaceful, but for all practical purposes is completely indistinguishable from a religion of violence, oppression, and cruelty, why would a person be a bigot for expressing concerns about the spread of your religion? Third question. Again, assuming that Islam is actually peaceful but only sounds violent due to all the misunderstood but otherwise crystal clear commands to violently subjugate non-Muslims, what do you propose to do about the growing population of Muslims who misunderstand Islam and conclude that their highest religious duty is to slaughter unbelievers and hypocrites? Here your standard answer is, well, we're just going to keep insisting that they're wrong. We're going to keep saying that they don't represent us. We're going to keep marginalizing them. We'll say it in a press conference. Two problems with this answer. First, jihadis don't care what you say about them because they regard you as heretics. When you throw out some of the clearest commands of Allah and Muhammad because you don't like them, you become just as much of a target as the rest of us, because the Quran commands Muslims to wage jihad not only against unbelievers, but also against hypocrites. Second, you've been saying that jihadis don't represent you for years. You've been marginalizing them for years, and terrorist attacks are increasing rapidly. Here's a chart of global deaths from terrorism between the years 2000 and 2014. Do you see the rapid increase in recent years? That's the kind of curve you want to see if you're checking your bank account or your YouTube subscribers, but not if you're looking at a chart of people being slaughtered. This curve means that your current strategy is about as effective as the Bring Back Our Girls hashtag campaign was for rescuing girls kidnapped by Boko Haram. Jihadis don't care about your hashtags, and they definitely don't care what you say at your press conferences. So, do you have a plan B? Do you have any ideas whatsoever about stopping this trend? If the answer is no, if you have no plan for dealing with jihad apart from insisting that it has nothing to do with Islam, let me tell you what I'm hearing from you right now. The message of moderate Muslims is this: our religion is growing rapidly. It's a peaceful religion, but our most trusted sources are filled with violent commands that are easy to misunderstand if you don't radically reinterpret them to bring them in line with Western values. Unfortunately, because some Muslims don't reinterpret them, there's a sizable and growing number of jihadis who want to slaughter as many of you as possible. Moreover, there's absolutely nothing we can do to stop the growth of this violent movement. However, if you're at all concerned about the spread of our religion, a religion that always comes with a misinformed but uncontrollably violent element, you're a racist and a bigot. If I'm missing something here, please enlighten me in the comments section. In the meantime, to all my moderate Muslim friends out there, I hope you see why many of us find your response to terrorism less than comforting.